This is the station yarn. Real talk round the table, scars and all. From the first to rush to the long ride home when the sirens fall. Real firefighters, real conversation, laughing through the hard and the heavy on our hearts. Pull up a chair, lean in and listen. Every yarn's got a truth at its start.
All right, welcome back to the Station Yarn. This podcast isn't about hero stories or highlight reels. It's about the people behind the turnout gear, or out of the turnout gear now. The laughs, the tough days, station life, family life, mental health, and everything in between. Just firefighters having a proper yarn. Today, I'm sitting down with Jemarl Pairata. Dills Harris told me you go by Jama.
Jama, yeah, that seems to be what everyone calls me out at the beach.
Yeah. So, mate, appreciate you coming on.
Sure, brother. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I know it was a bit of a hikoi from Piha, but truly appreciate you coming, bro.
Not a problem.
So, let's start with your journey in the job. Where did the fire service journey start for you?
Well, before the fire service, I was working in the film industry, and I'd been in there for about 8 years, and I'd sort of hit the end of that road and lost a passion for that. And I was looking for something where I could spend a bit more time at home with my son, who was about 4 years old when I joined. And I had a friend that was in the fire service down in Wellington, and I called up with him one night and he said, "Hey, look, I think the fire service could be a great option for you." And it ticked a lot of boxes for me. You're out there helping people. There's a lot of challenges. And I thought that sounds like a brilliant way to earn a living. And then also it would free me up to spend time with my son and to go surfing and to do the things that I love doing in my personal life.
So, going back, working in the film industry, what did you do there?
I was doing rigging and lighting.
Oh, yeah.
So we had generators and we had lighting trucks, and we'd rock up to the lockup, and then we'd be off making commercials, or we might spend the day working on Xena or Hercules. And I worked on a bunch of films and traveled around the country, music videos stuff like that. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. But there was a lot of time that it took away from my family, and I wanted to spend more time with my son, and I'd noticed that he was growing up and I wasn't around. And the fire service, it's a brilliant job for that. It gives you that time to be able to spend with your loved ones. You do sometimes work on the birthdays and Christmas and times like that, but you do get a lot of time off, and for that I'm truly grateful for. It was a great job for that.
Yeah. And where did you serve your time? Like what stations?
I started off at Avondale with Sulu DeVoe. He was my boss there, which I had a great time at Avondale. I was there for about 6 years, I think, and then I had a year's leave. And when I came back, I went to West Harbour and I worked there with Len Blake. We had a couple of fun years up there. And then I ended up down at Henderson with Mike King. And that was probably one of my most favourite times of being in the fire service, was working under Mike. Great boss, good leader, and a really good crew there. And then I finished up at Glen Eden, working there.
And was West Harbour Yellow Watch then, or?
It was.
Oh,
is it still Yellow Watch?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was Yellow Watch then, yeah.
So effectively, you've worked over pretty much every colour on station then?
Yeah, I have. And obviously I got out and did a lot of overtimes around the city, so spread myself out there as well a little bit. But yeah, I had a bit of a wide variety of areas to cover. And yeah, each one of them had their own kind of personality, and I really enjoyed all of them, to be honest.
And so you said your mate helped you get in the job, or like sort of encourage you to get in the job. What was that journey like?
That was John Madsen. He's a senior station officer down in Wellington. Well, it wasn't easy for me to get in,
Mm.
like coming from the fire service. Before that, I was from the film industry.
Mm.
Before that, I was working on fishing boats.
Mm.
So I hadn't done much study or anything like that. And the first go I had, I actually failed. And so I had to go back about 6 months later and have another crack at it. And fortunately enough, I got in. I think I did my pack day. Where did I do my pack day? Mount Wellington. I did. What do you call that when you first? I think I might have done the theory side of it. What do you call
Cognitive
it? Yeah, the
test.
cognitive test. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did that in Invercargill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was all over the show. I was
Yeah.
living down there for a little bit, so I did that there. Then I came up to Auckland. I did my pack day, my medical, and then I had my interview up here.
Mm.
And so at first they were going to send me to Mount Wellington, but luckily Brian Edwards at the time said, "Oh, that's a bit far from Piha, so we'll send you to Avondale."
Oh, sweet.
And I did my recruits course down in Rotorua, and we had the building next door to the fire station, so the training centre was just being built, and we trained out of there, and we used the drill yard at the fire station to run all our drills. And
We're up until just recently, I think they were still using Rotorua Fire Station for the RIFB training.
okay,
Yeah.
that's where we did ours in
Yeah.
there. So yeah, and we came up to Marsden Point to do our BA, I think. Oh, we came to Mount Wellington to do our BA training, and to be honest, like I hear people say, "Oh yeah, I breezed through. It was easy," and for me, it wasn't. Like for me, it kind of tested me, mostly mentally. The bookwork and keeping up with stuff, and then
That's it.
also putting everything into practical application on the drill ground in the BAT B, live fire training. You've got all these things going on. You've got some guy barking orders at you, and so I felt like it kind of tested me, and I was really, I was really proud of my achievement when I made it through that course and passed. I definitely wasn't the recruit of the year or anything, but I got through it.
I sat down with Rochi yesterday
Okay.
on the podcast, and she said it wasn't easy for her either, And one thing she said was, if you found it easy, were you pushing yourself hard enough? And I was like, yeah, that's a fair comment, because, man, it is hard. You never get faced with the things that you're training on in your recruits course, and then you find it easy. How can it be easy when you've never done that stuff before,
Yeah, I found it quite. It tested me, and
Yeah.
the first day we were there, and we were in the classroom, and we had, I don't know, Mr. Sweeney. I don't know, I forget his first name, but he came in, and all the instructors came in, and he got up, and we didn't know what to expect really, and he got up and he said, "Some of you will like me. Some of you might not. I don't care." He goes, this isn't some kind of tech course you're on. We're going to push you to your limits, and we're going to like sitting there just looking at him going, "Oh, jeez, what have we got ourselves into?" But joining that, getting accepted, I was just like, I'm going to get through this no matter what.
Yeah.
I really wanted to become a firefighter, and I really, once I started going through that process, something in me was just like, I don't care what it takes, I'm going to get through this.
Well, it was like for my USAR week, right, on recruits course, man, I was blowing ass, like that was tough for me. And I remember like our last sort of run, one of the trainers who's now pretty high up there, BK, do you know BK? He was like, "I want you off my course. You're not going to be a firefighter." And I turned around and I was like, "Fuck you," and just kept on going, But man, I wanted to give up. Like seriously, I was like, I've had enough. Like,
Yeah.
But it was tough, man.
Yeah, and I remember one of the guys on our recruits course, one of the first days, we had those overalls on, we had our line wrapped around us, and we had our gloves, and we had our helmets, and we were all standing at attention. and one of the guys couldn't find his glove.
Mm.
And he was looking around, and Sweeney was screaming at him. He's like, my grandmother could be in her house right now. It'll be burning down. And what are you doing? You're looking for your glove.
Mm.
And he ran around, and it was pretty full on for him, and in front of all of us as well. But that guy went on, and he's had a great career in the fire service now, and he overcame that little glitch. And I mean, they push you and just see how far they can push you. But a lot of people stand up and get to the other side and do some pretty cool things within the job.
And do you remember your first job coming out of Rookies?
I remember my first fire. I had a few little, alarm calls. I'm trying to remember all the jargon here. It's been a little while. I haven't really thought about the fire service too much, but I do remember my first fire.
Yeah.
And it was a sleep out, and I was on Red Watch doing it overtime, so I was with Roger Callister, and we got off the truck, and he said, get to work with a high. And this thing was going, so I dragged the high up the driveway, and I donned my BA, and flames are coming. I'm like, oh, whoa, this is, all my senses are in overdrive. And I get the high to work, and we're trying to knock it a little bit, and then we make entry, and the thing's fully involved. And I'm really getting nowhere with the high. It's not really doing much. And there's a gas bottle in the corner. I can see all that going. And I'm trying to knock this thing. It's not really working. And then the next truck comes in, busts down the door, and they've got a low. And they just put it out right with it. I think it was Aaron Povey just come up right behind me, and he knelt down, and he just put the thing out. And I've got this high, and I'm trying to do this job. But I was buzzing. And afterwards, after I knocked off work and I drove home, I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Still like shaking from adrenaline.
Yeah, I actually think I texted a couple of the guys off my course and said, pop the cherry.
And all of them are waiting like, man, 9 months later, still waiting for it.
There were actually some guys on our course that, didn't get a fire for a while.
It does happen like that, and like it always gets said, to the community, it's not good,
No.
But to us, it's amazing because that's what we train for,
Yeah, it was all that training and
and
then
so we get hyped up for it and we love it, but it's like, hang on a minute, this is, like bad for the people that have lost stuff, but it is a great feeling when we get to do something that we've trained for, right?
Yeah, and I mean that was a sleep out that was right next to the house, so in a lot of ways we saved the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And when you look back at the job now, what was the job really like for you?
When I look back, I mean the job gave me so much, and obviously it's built me into the person I am today. I learned a lot of lessons when I was in there, and one of the big ones was around cohabitating with other people. Getting on with people that you might not spend a lot of time with outside of the job, and just knowing that the person next to you's got some strengths in different areas, and we've all got strengths, and in order for us to work as a team, we've got to accept our differences and try and get the best out of the strengths that we all have. So learning to get on with people, especially in that environment, like I suppose a big part of the job is being able to cohabitate on station. It's one thing to go put a fire out and to go to an MVA or a medical call, but we're spending a lot of time on station together, so you really get to know each other. You get to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess. And it's just the job just taught me how to get on with people, and I want to focus on people's strengths rather than the weaknesses. And we all have weaknesses, but I suppose that was one big part of the job. And then what I really liked about the job, what I loved about the job, was being of service to the community. and going out there, and there's no better feeling than going out there and helping. And I know that when I first joined, a lot of my friends were like, oh, how could you, I don't know if I could go to a medical call and do CPR on someone, or go to an MVA and see some of the things that we're exposed to. But for me, I just want to know that if I'm ever in that situation, or if my family are ever in that situation, that there are people that will just step forward and help and do the best they can. And you know, we do have the skills and the knowledge to be able to go in there, but I'd like to think that if any of my family were in trouble, that someone would step forward and help them.
Yeah. Interesting. You say that you work with Sulu. Like, one of the best quotes I've ever been told is from Sulu. You know, and it was, a good boss, somebody who steps into that station officer or a senior station officer role. A good boss is somebody that can adapt and work with multiple personalities, you know. And it is because you got, like, you know, like you said, you're living with those guys. You can't go anywhere off station when you're at work unless all four of you are going. So you're all together for your whole shift. You're eating together. You're sleeping together. You know, like at station, going to bed together. You know, you're going to somebody's worst day together. You know, so it is like managing different personalities, different characters. You know, yeah. That what he said to me one day, that really sat with me, you know.
Yeah, and I did, towards the end of my career, I did think about that. And being a boss, you do have to manage the personalities. You know, you're not dealing with a robot that's coming to work and you know, clocking on and doing all this good work. You know, real people have troubles at home. You know, they need time off, or things might be going wrong at work. You've got to manage all that stuff as well. So yeah, the role of a station officer or a senior station officer it's quite a big one. Yeah.
So I know you briefly touched on it then, but what were some of the best parts of the job for you? Yeah.
I loved the camaraderie. Yeah, I loved being part of a team, and you know, there were times where we would go to a call and really make a difference in someone's life. And, you know, for me, that's a great feeling to be able to get out there and help the community. The camaraderie, the brotherhood. You know, I've got some really close relationships that I've had in there. I still catch up with a few of my bros and from the fire service. And I call it the fire service because that's all I can. That's what I think of the service when I think about the fire service. So FENS, fire and emergency. Yeah, I can't get my
Doesn't
tongue.
ring the same bell.
No, I can't get my tongue around that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose that just that brotherhood, sisterhood, being part of you know, something bigger. You know, and being able to rely on people. I really loved the routine at a certain point of my career. And just knowing where I was at, what I was doing, it gave me a sense of purpose. You know, with 2 days on, two night shifts, and then 4 days off, or you have your overtimes in the middle. But yeah, just having a bit of sense of direction, and yeah, really, I like those things about it. Yeah.
Okay, so the harder parts, the things that people don't see, what were they for you?
Well, and I go back to this cohabitation, you know, living on station and station life. For me, look, to speak openly, like for me, I always felt like on my way into the fire station, I was getting ready to put up a force field around how some of my true feelings of what was going on for me. I know that when I came into the job, you know, there was a lot of black humor. That's how we dealt with stuff. And towards the end of my career, that got pretty hard for me, dealing with that kind of coping mechanism, if you like. And then ultimately, I really struggled with any call that involved kids. Yeah, that one really kind of hit me every time I went to a call and there were children involved. And yeah, I found that really that was really tough. Those kind of calls. And so yeah, I guess the other thing, there's a couple of things, but the other thing that was really tough for me, and since I've moved into the space of holistic health, and we talk about the fundamentals of health, and one of the main fundamentals of our health to keep us living a nice, healthy existence is sleep. And when you don't sleep, and I can hear a few of the guys laughing at listening to this, but when you don't sleep, that affects your capacity to take on all the stress that's coming your way. And yeah, there were times where I wasn't getting much sleep, and that affected my resilience to take on a lot of things that were happening outside of the fire service. So those are just a couple of them. Yeah.
The sleep thing. So as I said to you earlier, I've been off injured, and so the time that I've had at home, man, I'm getting better sleep, which makes me a better person at home. Like my time off, even though, I want to get back to work and doing what we do, but I've been able to give my kids such better quality time, like getting good sleep. So I'm not grumpy. I'm not up all night and then coming home and looking after the kids going, get outside, like, because I'm so tired. Whereas, yeah, like this time off has been amazing for family because I'm getting good sleep,
Yeah, and you could go to work and, yeah, we have a room, we have a bed, we can go to sleep, but it's not quality sleep. It's broken. And it does have a massive, massive effect on your health.
Well, it's broken and it's light. You don't get into your deep sleeps. Well, I don't. It's always a light sleep for me, so it's like, it's not a good thing,
Yeah. And it took me a long time to break that pattern. When I finished, I'd be at home and in my room and I'd hear something and I'd think, oh, the bells are going to go down, or, and I'd wake up. And it took me a long time to get my sleep in a really good routine. Yeah.
And did you feel like the weight of the job building over time for you, or?
Oh, for me personally, I felt I had a lot of issues outside of the job.
Right.
And like I said, once they started to compound, then life on station started to compound for me. Add into the mix, not sleeping. And my other coping mechanism was to drink on my days off heavily. And so, yeah, when things start compounding like that, you lose the capacity, you fatigue, basically. You start fatiguing, and then when you fatigue, your resilience drops, and your capacity to take everything on lowers. And towards the end there, yeah, it was a build-up of my personal life, compounding with my with my work life. And yeah, it just it got pretty difficult. And when you first start in the job, 10, 15 years, you're kind of like, oh yeah, this is all sweet, this is all good, and it is. And you can deal with all this stuff. You're young, and you're heading in a direction within the job. It's good until it isn't, and then there's not much room in there to start storing this stuff. And for me, I started shutting down. I stopped communicating. I'd hide how I actually felt, and I'd put this facade on. And the people who suffered the most were my family. When I was going through that, yeah, they really suffered.
Do you think you're talking about the drinking? Because I know I've been in that space too, where I'm like not doing good, so I just go and get on the piss. Like, do you think that's a firefighter issue, or do you think that's a New Zealand issue?
I think it's pretty. It's spread out over our society. I mean, when I was a fisherman, it was massive.
Yeah.
When I was working in the film industry, it was even bigger. So I think we've been sold this perception of this drinking culture.
Mm.
And I think things are changing a little now, but for me, I always knew that was actually an issue, especially a few days after I'd had a big bender or I'd go into work hungover. It just started affecting, again, my capacity to take things on. And when I was hungover or hadn't had enough sleep with all that compounding, then I was a little bit fragile and I couldn't deal with things. There was times at work where I kind of lost it. And looking back on it now, I just realized that I didn't have the tools to deal with what was going on for me at that time.
Yeah, I do think times are changing, like a lot more people are into their health and their well-being and things like that now, which is a great change, especially for our small country,
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people are moving into like your realm, that holistic well-being, and I do believe that sort of binge drinking culture is slowly dissipating in our country, which is cool.
Yeah, it's real good.
And was there ever a point where things started to shift for you mentally, like around inside and outside trauma, or
Yeah, I guess, if you have to make that decision that you want to change something, because what I believe happens is that you get into a pattern, pattern of behavior, of how you deal with things, and in order for things to change, you have to change that pattern, and it can be just one little small thing at a time. And for me, I started listening to a few podcasts around holistic health. I started listening to some podcasts around people who had lost everything and made a comeback from that. And then during, I guess you'd say, my darkest hours, I had a rock bottom moment, and I decided, I need to change. Something big's got to change. So I gave up drinking. And when you give up drinking, you want to replace it with something, or you want to replace that old habit with something. So I started learning about self-development, meditation, personal growth. I started to learn my reo, which I hadn't done. Started learning about whakapapa, tikanga, my pepeha. And I started getting healthy. And slowly but surely, as my thoughts and my behaviors started to rise, my interactions with the world felt like they started to rise, and my interactions at work started to get better. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't going in there hungover. I'd been learning about the laws of positivity, and I mean being positive. And no one wants to see someone running around the station going no, like that, because it's unsustainable. That kind of and it's a bit fake, because it's pretty, we're not living in that kind of world. We do have the ups and downs, but for me, it was about eliminating complaining. Getting away from complaining and focusing in on what I did have. And when you practice gratitude and you look for gratitude every day, then you see the opportunities and anything that might go wrong. So yeah, just changing my mindset around holding on to resentment, anger, blame, letting go of all that stuff, and coming from a place of love, understanding, and compassion. It elevated my thoughts, it elevated my behaviors, and in return, it elevated my results.
And that started while you're still in the service? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I could really see it playing out in front of my eyes, and I made a conscious decision that I was going to surrender to some of these higher principles of what you're putting out is what you get back. And it started working for me. Yeah, and things started getting easier. My relationship with my family started to improve, and my relationship with my friends and the people around me at work. I felt like I was coming out of the coming out of the fog.
And so we talk a lot about the job being the best job in the world, but there's always another side to it. What did that look like for you? That other side.
That other side of the job. Well, I'll start off by saying I did love the job, and it gave me a lot, but there was a lot of challenges, obviously. One thing that I found hard was being around. It's one thing to have, let's say, a leader or a boss, who's capable and of competent in the job. But, where does that stop with what they tell you, or maybe they try and put some of their philosophies onto you about how to live? I found that pretty difficult, especially when I looked at some of them, and I thought, well, hold on. If I look at your life, it doesn't look like that's what's happening in your life. Those values and the things that they were saying. If that makes any sense at all. I did find that hard, and then because I had made some changes, I just found some of the negativity around station. I could see it just bringing everyone down, and I found that really hard. And so when I was going through my changes, and when I was starting to look at life in a different light, I started to ask myself some other questions, like, is there more for me out there? I'm coming up 20 years. Do I stay here and carry on like this, or can I go off and carve my own path out in the world? And I did bring that up with my crew, and they kind of said, look, it's a lot easier here. It's easy just staying here. And for me, I just wanted to see if I could actually carve my own way and do some work that I felt like would have an impact on the world. So in the end, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I kind of lost the passion for the job, and I was doing my taps, but I just didn't have that feel inside me like that's what I wanted to do.
And was that affecting your life outside of work? Like losing the passion for the job and...
Not really. I guess when I started losing the passion for the job and started asking bigger questions outside of the job, things were starting to get better for me. And I looked around and I thought, far out, there's a whole lot of opportunities out here. And I focused in on my strengths. I live at Piha. I love getting out into the bush. I've been the coach of the New Zealand junior surf team. I've travelled the world with my son, who's a professional surfer. So I had a lot to offer. And it was just figuring out how I could package that up and help others. And especially with all the work that I'd been doing on myself, I thought, oh, hey, look, this stuff's actually working for me. Maybe it might work for others. And we're all different, but here's some knowledge and here's some skills that have helped me in my life. They might help others. So I felt like the more things started looking brighter in my personal life, then I started drifting away from the work life. And
And so when you were going through that stuff or realizing that stuff, were you somebody that like spoke about it, or did you sort of just keep it to yourself? Or
I used to just bury all my feelings, deep down, and I wouldn't say anything. And I definitely wasn't going into the station and sitting around the smoko table and talking about my problems or how I felt. And there is a time and a place to be vulnerable, and we can't be vulnerable all the time. And it depends who you're going to be vulnerable with as well,
totally.
And I'm quite happy to sit here and be vulnerable with you right now, because if there's one person out there that's listening to this and is struggling and maybe feeling it, that there are ways to change, and that you can get out of it, and that you can. There's a whole lot of opportunities out in the world right now, and that's what I focus in on. And I know that when you look at the state of the world, there's a lot of doom and gloom, but there's also a lot of opportunities, and especially for firefighters, like we're resilient, we can think on our feet, we're adaptable, and we can do all this stuff. Firefighters have a skill set that not a lot of people have, and all the firefighters that I know, they're on time. They know how to do stuff. They make themselves useful, and they're an asset to any team. And if a firefighter puts their mind to doing something, they get the job done.
I think that was a big reason for me to wanting to get you on. obviously, you spent 20 years in the job, which is no small feat, and you're pretty well liked, around the stations and stuff. But a big thing for me was showing people that, yes, we love the fire service. Yes, we love our job and what we do and helping the community. But if you're not liking it for whatever reason, or if you just want to change, there are things out there, and you're proven that by the things that you've achieved and done, like, which is awesome, bro. So I feel like a lot of firefighters get stuck in that. What am I going to do if I leave? I don't know anything else, especially those ones that hit that 20 years, 25 years. They're like, I don't know anything else, I can't even work an iPhone, so you've proven that there are other things out there and you can go to whatever level you want,
Yeah, and I would suggest that, like what you've just said, there are opportunities out there, and the fire service is a great place to veer off into other avenues while still keeping your job. You don't have to do what I did. I pulled stumps and, I just committed 100%, and I just thought, I'm just going to back this up and I'm going to resign and I'm going to make this work no matter what happens. But you don't have to do that. You can have that side hustle, or you can try something different. And you can make, I know a lot of firemen are out there that do their trade on their days off, or they build houses, or they do a whole range of other really cool stuff. But I just feel like in this day and age, like I said, like I'm just looking at the opportunities, and what I'm looking at is there's a lot of opportunities, especially with people with a skill set like a fireman.
And was there a moment where like you hit rock bottom in the job?
Yeah, I hit rock bottom before, probably in, like a lot of people in 2020. Yeah, I was actually, I went through a separation, and at the time I was doing 3 months on, 3 months off. So I was really just running away from all my problems. And then with COVID, there was an end to that, and I had nowhere to run. And I started drinking heavily, and started to get fatigued, and just ran out of steam. And during that period, I hit rock bottom, and I just started thinking. I had a little vision of my son, and I was just like, man, I've got to change for him. I've got to be better. And that the common denominator in all my problems, all my complaints, everything was me. And I had to take responsibility for that, and that's around radical ownership of my situation, and that it just wasn't going to magically repair itself doing the things that I was doing. And so I had to change, and so that was the catalyst.
And did you I know we spoke off camera quickly about it, but did you use any of the tools that were offered to you through the fire service?
Yeah, I did. I got counselling. I didn't tell anyone either, but I put my hand up for counselling, and I saw a counsellor probably about 4 times. It helped, but it's hard when you're going in to speak to someone who's got no idea about the job, about the things that we're facing. It was actually a female counsellor as well, which, I was grateful for the opportunity to be able to go and speak to someone. But I've talked to Josh Darby about this, but I think there's a real opportunity for one of us to be in there, maybe. I don't know if they've got that option available, but I feel like there could be an opportunity there for a firefighter who's been through some stuff to sit down and talk with anyone who's struggling. I think that would have been probably a little bit more beneficial for me at the time, but definitely grateful for the opportunity to be able to go and speak to someone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know we've got the peer support program where you can go and speak to one of the boys, but like you said, like we put up this shield. You don't really want to look weak, by like opening up to people, And man, we talked about him off camera, but when I first joined the job, do you know who I was told was peer support for our area?
Who?
The demon. Could you imagine that? I'd be going in there and he'd be like, "The fuck out of my office."
Yeah, I have some pretty funny memories of Phil, and I couldn't imagine him in that job, but doing that, but yeah, it would be an interesting sight to see.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, you've got the likes of the Vitae, which is the counselling thing, and I think they've got psychiatrists, one of those. I can never get them right. That we can go and see as well. But maybe even somebody like us, or somebody that like you, that was in the job, knows the job, and maybe the fire service need to use your skills.
I'd be open to that.
Plug.
Yeah, I would be open to that, and it is hard going in to see someone who's still in the job. I feel.
Yeah.
It's hard. There needs to be like a separation of that, and I'd be open to that, and to be fair, if anyone does have any struggles that's listening to this, I'd be open to a chat and sitting down and having a coffee, because I like to think that if I can make a few changes, anyone can. And what I've used is might not work for everyone, but I have some suggestions and some tools and some knowledge around making those changes.
And so, what was the first small steps that you took getting out? Was it just like watching the podcasts, like you said, and listening to other people? And
yeah, it started when I started to build my knowledge around what was going on. When I started to listen to other people's stories. Stories is a great way to share information, to learn, storytelling. I love that. And that's why these podcasts are so popular. So I made that decision to maybe just listen to a podcast while I drove to work. And it started to help. I think the biggest one of the biggest shifts for me was when I started to learn my reo, when I started to learn my whakapapa and my pepeha, and learn about tikanga and pūrākau stories, karakia, and started to broaden that horizon for me. And I feel like I'm just looking through this keyhole at the moment, and I need to unlock it, and because there's a wealth of knowledge in there for us as Māori, and that was missing for me. And so I feel like one of the biggest steps to making some changes and to heading in a good direction is to figure out who you are and figure out your identity. And my identity was caught up in a lot of things that weren't really true to me, and they were other people's identity of me. And learning my reo, falling back to te ao Māori, that's been a huge, massive reason why I've been able to head in that direction and learn about my great-great-grandfather, Hitiri Te Pairata, and his values and who he was. And I realised that, I was living this life where, the destiny of my life was at the bottom of a Heineken bottle. And that wasn't who I am. And going into a job, where I didn't feel Māori in there, even though we do have that in there, like I'm around, there was hardly any tikanga or Māori, te ao Māori in any station that I worked in. It was there, it was offered, it was there if I went looking for it, so that's probably on me. But identity, who am I?
I guess with that sort of stuff, though, you've got, well, for me personally, you've got to be ready to accept that as well. Like if you're not ready to accept that world, then you're not going to take the time out to learn, to, gather information and all that sort of stuff. So it does fall on you, you know? Yeah.
Because also just going back to that, like no one's going to change, or no one can help you change. You have to be the one that's ready to change. And once you embrace that, and that's what you want, it's going to be a lot easier. But there's no use trying to force people to do anything. For me, I had to hit rock bottom to make those changes. So you're figuring out who I was, what my purpose was, and my values, my beliefs. Getting clear on my identity was a big part of the journey for me.
And was there anybody that like helped you along the way, or you just did it yourself? And
I started getting some mentoring. I got some mentoring from an American guy that I found online, and I listened to his podcast, and a lot of the things that he talked about resonated with me around, and I'd just been through a lot of these changes. And so he talked about changing, we're all on a vibration and you got to change that vibration, elevate it, and it will elevate your behavior, how you feel, and elevate your results. So it all comes from your thoughts. If they're elevated, then your behavior is elevated, you're feeling better, and then the results will follow. So I got some mentoring from him, and then I've had a kaumātua help me with my te ao Māori, with my karakia, tikanga. I was jumping on a call with him every Sunday and learning some really cool stuff about being Māori and the right way to go about things. And following on from that, I've had lots of people help me since then. I was lucky enough to one of my friends, Dave Wood, who's a human performance specialist. He's helped me on my path and shared a lot of great knowledge and skills to help me develop. I've had various people come into my life. I feel like you attract, you attract those people in when you put yourself out there and you want to head in a certain direction.
I'm actually glad that you brought up the te ao Māori. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that journey? Because a lot of us, I feel, especially in like some of the boys that I know in the fire service, that we're trying to, go to the classes to learn, and I was brought up on a marae back home, but now I've sort of lost that, and I'd love to figure that part of myself out, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the other boys would too,
Yeah, it's a real hard space to be in. When I resigned, I was 47. I'm 52 now, and as a guy moving into his 50s, learning to speak reo, that's tough. And I'm still at kohanga level, but it's an amazing, empowering part of my life now. And I've been to Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, and I've done level 1 and level 2. I've done an online course, and then I sit down with a kaumātua who taught me about pepeha, whai kōrero, karakia, and pūrākau around te ao Māori. So I'm not an expert, I'm not a tohunga, I'm learning. But I also have another friend of mine who teaches me. He's really knowledgeable in what he shares with me. And the story of Tāne Mahuta and the different faces of Tāne, that's interesting. His different faces he had as he kind of went through his different parts of what he did. And when you think about the karakia tēnei au, this is me, Tāne Mahuta, and his journey to the uppermost heavens to retrieve the 3 baskets of knowledge for us to bring down and to give to mankind. When you think about that story, and there was like 2 trains of thought, you should go up, and there was another group that said, nah, don't go up there. You don't need to go up there. What do we need that for? And, we can reflect back on our own lives when we're aspiring to do something, when you want to change. When you leave the fire service and go in another direction, there's going to be those voices saying, no, don't go up there. You don't need to do that. Just stay here. It's nice and comfortable. And sometimes those voices are coming from inside our own head. Who do you think you are? Why are you going there? You can't do that. And the interesting part of the karakia that was told to me, and how I understand it, is that there was 2 ways, the easy way or the hard way, and he chose the hard way. Everyone else who chose the easy way failed. but he chose the hard way, and he didn't get up there by himself. He got help, and from others. So that's that kotahitanga. We're all working together for a common goal. And when he retrieved those 3 baskets of knowledge, he just didn't give them out. We've got to go searching for it. We've got to learn. We've got to grow, and we all have that ability to learn and grow and to be better versions of ourselves. So that's just a little bit of some of the pūrako that was shared to me that I love, and that I share with the rangatahi that I work with now around. We all want to aspire. We don't want to stay in the same place for too long, and it's not going to be easy. But it's on the other side of that challenge that we can grow and we can get better. And I try to encourage those things. And the big principles that I love in Te Ao Māori is manaakitanga, care for one another, whanaungatanga, building relationships centered around trust and understanding, understanding that we're different, and then kotahitanga, all working together for, like a common goal or coming unity. So I'm still learning, and I love it. It's just I'd love to do a full immersion. It's just finding the time at the moment to settle down into that.
And was that something you always wanted to connect to, or you found that later?
I've always wanted to. It's been in me to do the best I can to reconnect with that side of who I am, and it's been a massive pivotal part of my growth, I reckon, Yeah.
And for somebody that might not understand the whole Te Ao Māori or that way of life, how would you explain it to somebody and the importance of it in our lives?
Well, the way I would explain it would be that if you're Māori and you feel like there is something missing, it's that.
Yeah.
And you're not connected with that. It's definitely that. I believe. And there's probably more of us that are disconnected than connected.
Oh, totally.
And when you look around at our stats, especially the negative ones, there's a reason for that. And we've moved away from who we are, who we identify with. It's in us, that need to reawaken just a little bit of real. Learn a karakia and, learn a little bit about it, try and get back to the marae. But I believe for a lot of people who are Māori, this is a huge, huge part that's missing. And it's about doing your best, because it is hard learning the reo. But the Te Ao Māori is a lot more than just the reo.
Totally.
Yeah. We're Māori, and we can feel that in us, the manaakitanga, the whanaungatanga, and I just think that, we should, or for me, heading in that direction and learning my reo, and I thought I knew quite a lot. I went to tipene, I went to a Māori boarding school, and I was around my grandparents at the marae when I was younger, but I realised, I don't really know that much, actually, and that can be quite humbling as well.
And do you think that's helped, ground you, learning that stuff?
Oh, it's helped ground me a lot, and also learning my whakapapa and what actually happened to my people, learning about the Battle of Ōrākau, learning about my my great-great-grandfather, Hitiri Te Pairata, and, the sacrifices he made, and then fast forward to my father's generation, where the reo was taken off them pretty much, and what happened to him, and then how that's filtered down into my own life, and why I have been brought up with some of the behaviours that I have all stemmed from that that path of colonisation, I suppose you could say.
Oh, honestly, I totally agree. Like my grandfather, he was the same. Like they were beaten for speaking Māori. There was no speaking Māori, but then it does trickle down. Like my old man, he's fluent. He can speak it. He knows it all. But it was like our grandparents. They didn't want us to know. They wanted to make sure that we knew the English ways. And the English speaking language and things like that. And then for me personally, it made it harder for me to want to learn. But now like my dad's generation, they're all getting old, and then they're looking at us to be the next generation to step up, and I'm like, oh, I know bugger all, like I know my pepeha, I know where I'm from, and a few words here and there, and that's about it,
Yeah, well, if I can encourage you today to just do a little bit more and head in that direction of learning your reo, I know that it could be life changing. It will be life changing for you.
Well, I think a big thing for us is we want our kids to know it. We don't want it to be lost again. So we want to teach our kids it, which would be cool. But you got to start with yourself, right?
Yeah, and it is hard. But like I say, for me, te ao Māori and the things that I like within Māoridom are a lot more than just the reo, but the reo is definitely the key that unlocks the door.
Totally.
And it's been real cool. And I sit on a committee for our trust board now, Ngā Kaihautu o Te Awa o Waikato, and that's all about encouraging the well-being of our awa and the whenua around mokai marae. So it's a real privilege to do that work too. And I go to meetings and sometimes I'm a little bit lost, but I hear pūrākau and stories about the area and how they're trying to rejuvenate the whenua, and it's really cool to be involved with that stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So just going back a bit to the fire service. So what led to your actual decision to leave, and why then?
Well, 20 years, coming up, 20 years, I started to really ask that question, is there more for me out there? And because I was doing all this work on myself and I was finding myself and I was getting healthy, and I started asking those kind of questions. Is there more out there? What's my purpose? What do I want to do with my life? And I just felt like if I didn't leave then, I'd still be there now. And there was a very high possibility that I could be sitting around the smoko table right now thinking I should have left. Why didn't I? Where I don't regret that choice that I made now. And I just knew that if it wasn't then, it probably would be never. And I wanted to see if I could, I wanted to test myself and see if I could actually find a pathway for myself. And I believed I could, but I had to, believe in myself and say, hey, look, I'm going to accept this challenge with both hands, and I'm going to go the hard way, and I'm going to aspire up here with the help of others to try and achieve this goal, to see if I could have a positive impact in the world, and also show people that you can change and that you can, after a 20-year career in the fire service, you can actually go on and do other stuff. When the first people I told was my son and his mother, and I sat them down and I said, oh, look, I'm going to resign. And they just looked at me and were like, what? What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to help people. And they just looked at me stunned. And I'm not sure they thought it was a good idea. And yeah, a lot of my friends, my colleagues, thought I'd lost the plot basically. And, what was I doing? Resigning from such a great job. But I felt like for me it was, if I didn't resign fully, I couldn't invest the time and effort that it would take to make this thing work. And I really had a point to prove with myself that I could do it, and I had to really believe in it. And by resigning, that was just confirming that there was absolutely no other option but to make this thing work. And we're still out there, and we've had some ups, we've had some downs, we've been all over the show, and we're still going, and it's a lot of fun. And sometimes I'm out in the field, I take kids up into the Ngāhere, and I'm out there, I have a couple of people who help me, and I just look out and say, man, can you believe what we're doing? Under a waterfall, going swimming, talking about cold water therapy.
Man, I've seen some of your videos, and I'm like, hey, the bro's living the life. Like, man, I wish I could go to work and be swimming in under the waterfall, or swimming at the beach, but I there's probably some hard stuff to deal with there too. But yeah, I'm like, I'm jealous.
Yeah. And It was a big call, and it was a hard one, and I had to really pluck the courage up to go in and say, hey, I sat on that for weeks. I thought about that for weeks and weeks, and I was just like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? And I had a letter.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, I got to do this the right way. And I called up a couple of the managers and sat down and said, hey, look, I'm going to leave. And each one of them said, oh, are you sure? And they were gracious enough to say to me, like, if you want to come back after a year, the door's going to be open, which was really amazing.
Yeah.
That was really cool, and I really felt that. I'm grateful that they did that. So it took a bit of pressure off. But it wasn't an easy decision to make. It didn't come easy, because after that amount of time, that's all you know. And she's a big world out here, but I don't have any regrets. I'm really happy with that decision, and the one thing I do miss is the brotherhood and the sisterhood and the people. And I was lucky enough to see the boys out Piha a few weeks ago at the fire service surf comp. So they invited me in to go down. I hung out with them for a couple of days, and that was really cool to catch up with everyone. And it really it did just confirm to me that, that's what I miss the most, is that brotherhood, sisterhood.
Yeah. I was going to ask if it was a hard decision, and obviously you said it wasn't. I think it would be one of the hardest decisions of my life to go, no, I've had enough here, or in any job that you've been in for like 20 years or more, like, because it's sort of all you've known, so yeah, it's not an easy decision, but big props to you for making it.
Yeah, it was really difficult, and it was one that I had to, like I said, I had to sit on it. But then also it was just like, am I passionate about this? Am I adding value to station life? If I've got this thing in my head that I want to leave, and for me, if the passion's not there, then and why would I stay? And I'll put that out there to anyone that's in the job that is complaining about it, and doesn't want to be there. Then why would you stay? Because we only get one life.
I say this all the time, like, for not just anybody in the job, everywhere. Like, we spend a third of how I look at it is, we spend a third of our life with our family, a third of our life sleeping, and a third of our life working. Now, if you don't like a third of your life at work, why do it? Like, I'm a big believer of, you've got to love what you do. It's a huge amount of time that you spend at work. So love what you do. If you don't like the job that you're in, leave. Go and find something else. Go and find something that you are going to love, and that's what you've done. And I don't know if you remember him, but Big Billy, he was out south.
Yeah.
Well, he did the same thing as you, man. So he got into the real estate game, right? But so he did it part-time on his days off. So he was working as a firefighter, real estate, and then he did that for a year, and he was like, I'm going to leave. And we were like, what? And he was like, I want to give this thing a really good shot. I don't want to have a backup. So I'm going to leave the fire service. And he did. And he left the fire service, handed in his resignation, and now he's like one of the top sellers out south.
Yeah,
Top
I actually
retail
saw
agents.
him.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw him and a couple of the other boys after one of the workshops we ran in town, and they were in Kingsland, and I caught up with them. It was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well done.
like, sometimes you do have to take that big leap, like you said,
Well, if you're going into work every day and you're complaining and you're miserable, I mean, what's the point of that?
For sure.
We've got one life. Like, figure out what it is that might make you happy, and find something that you want to be passionate about. And it might not. That doesn't mean you resign and do what we did, but I just don't see the point in doing things that you're not passionate about, and that was one of the big reasons why I left.
So talking about something that you're passionate about, you've gone on to create Te Kai Arahi.
Yes.
Talk to us about that, bro.
Well, Te Kaiarahi is a youth mentoring organisation. We work with rangatahi. We run nature-based programs. So we're out in Te Taiao. We get them out there. And we work with a lot of at-risk youth and youth who have lost a bit of direction. But we also work with schools like Mount Albert Grammar where kids are doing really well. And yeah, we create these pathways where they can find out who they are, what they want out of life, and how they're going to get there. And everything that we do is grounded in Te Ao Māori. And we're based out of Piha. I mean, it's an amazing place for any transformation to be done, because we've got the Waitakere Ranges, we've got the Black Iron Sand, we've got Te Tai o Rehua, that big body of rugged ocean, treacherous seas. And we get people out there and we ground them out in Te Taiao, out in nature. And so another big part of my work, I've been working with Dave Wood at Integrated Training, and a lot of that is around controlling stress, the red and the blue zone, sympathetic, parasympathetic. And what we know is that when you're in nature, you automatically move into that parasympathetic part of your nervous system, which is the blue zone, which is where you feel calm. You can think clearly and creatively, and it's just an amazing place to learn, rather than in a school, in a classroom. So we get the kids up into waterfalls. We do meditations. We learn about goal setting. We learn about holistic health. And we do a lot of breath work, and just encouraging them and giving them tools to be able to control their own emotions, and then figure out what it is that they want, and giving them some basic tools around goal setting to figure out how to get from A to B.
Yeah, I agree with you that the nature thing, like, so prior to living here, our house was house surrounded by house, and then with our backyard, and we see the river every day, and we get the sunset over, and like I said to you, we've got native birds coming all directions, and they're in our backyard. The peace that we get from watching the tide come and go, and just sitting in the quiet and listening to the birds. And honestly, like, my missus and I, we sit outside all the time. We in the quiet. It's so calming. It is, So I could only imagine what it's like out at Piha, with the ranges, the beach, the listening to the waves and everything. It must be amazing.
It is, and we're living in this day and age where we're inundated with stress. Work, relationships, kids, mortgage, all of these things, and a lot of us are staying in the red zone for most of the time. And like I talked about fatigue, when you stay in the red zone all the time and you're not resting and recovering, then at some point you're going to fatigue, and then worst case scenario, you either suffer chronic stress or have a breakdown. You just can't sustain that all the time. And one of the most powerful ways to move from the red to the blue is getting out into nature. Another really powerful way is to come together and work together. So that human connection, that's a real powerful way when we're all working together for a common goal. That connection is really good for us.
Yeah, well, so that segues into what I was going to ask you was, what do you think is missing from people or organizations that this sort of thing helps or fixes?
Well, I think the nature-based part of it is missing from a lot of the organizations that are trying to do what we do, and that's of no fault of theirs, because a lot of the mentoring services, a lot of these organizations are in Tamaki, so it's hard, but you have to get creative with how you get out into nature. Also, I think the work we do around identity, around creating a vision, and then goal setting, these are real simple tools that anyone can use, around holistic health, keeping yourself healthy, your nutrition, your hydration, your sleep. So we're encouraging all of those things, which I think in a lot of places are getting overlooked. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, you've fallen off the cliff, so to speak, but why don't we back it up over here and say, hey, what happened? What can we do so that that person or that rangatahi doesn't go over the cliff, so to speak? And a lot of that's around holistic health, those things I just mentioned. And when you start getting fatigued and your resilience drops, then those things start going out the window. And I mean, you look around, we've got a mental health problem. People are suffering, but when you think about the fundamentals of health now, nutrition is a massive one. If you're not eating healthy, and most people aren't eating healthy,
it's all convenience now, eh?
Yeah. And if you're dehydrated, then you can't focus. Then you're irritable. All these things come up. When you're not sleeping, so already we've got 3 and we're starting to compound that, and a lot of people aren't sleeping. Our kids are on their phones, taking them to bed, waking up in the middle of the night on the phone. So that's a massive problem. Then when the thoughts are low, the self-talk is low, then, we're compounding all of these problems. So we try and, I like to think that we are offering tools, knowledge, and skills that anyone can take on. You don't have to come from any background to think about improving your nutrition. We can all do that. You don't have to come from any background to increase the amount of water you're drinking daily. We can all improve our sleep. So we can all improve on how we are today, and that's what we like to encourage with the rangatahi that we're working with.
And so, you're involved with Calm Under Pressure, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, talk to us about that. What that's about.
So Dave Wood at Integrated Training, he's got a great story, and he never really talks about it. But he was a paramedic, and he started up a little gym in his garage, bit smaller than this, and just started working with people. And he got to that point with some injuries that he was suffering with, and he found that he wanted to integrate all of these different teachings. He's going to all these different people, but he wanted to bring it all together to help others and to help himself. And so over that time, he really started to dive into stress management, using the breath to control the emotions. And when we are in the red zone and our breathing rate is, mouth breathing, it's elevated, there's a tax on that as far as energy goes. And so he started looking into those types of things and how to deal with stress in real time. And when you're under immense stress, when you're overwhelmed with stress, let's say you're in the cage fighting in a UFC fight, you don't have much at hand to help you with controlling that overwhelm, that stress, and to get you out of the red zone. And a lot of his teachings is around, you've got 2 forms of control, top down, where you use your brain to control your body, to calm your body down, or you use your body to calm your brain down. Now, using your brain to calm your body down can be really hard when you're under massive amounts of stress. So using the body, taking a breath, slowing that down, that's going to be a lot more powerful than using the brain, which can be quite scattered. But you can use top down. That's about thinking about the self-talk. I have got this, I can get out of this, or this is going to be good for me. So he has all these different tools, and he's put together a workshop that we run every second month, and we have people from all over the country, all over the world coming. We get them out to Piha. We use nature. We use that connection. We do a lot of breath exercises, a lot of mindset stuff, and yeah, it's been just an absolute pleasure to be involved with this work, and I couldn't have asked for a better segue into what I do than working with Dave, and he's been a bit of a mentor for me. And yeah,
because you must be able to integrate that back into kaiharehi as well.
yeah, everything that I learn off Dave is filtered down into the rangatahi. So we share the stuff that he's sharing with the UFC fighters, with all the elite level athletes that he's working with. I share with the the rangatahi.
Awesome.
So it's really cool. Yeah.
So in these high pressure situations, you know, like we're faced with that a lot in the fire service. You know, do you think like even just your normal Joe Blogs firefighter could use these tools?
Yeah, they're not convoluted, they're not complicated, they're really simple. And as far as energy conservation goes, you know, there's some really good tools within his teachings that can really help with that. And then just breaking down the fundamentals of health as well would be quite beneficial for everyone. And I know that, you know, our firefighters are good with staying calm under pressure because they're exposed to it and they know how to deal with these things. But, you know, these tools can help you when you get home and you're feeling fatigued and you have a moment at home with your family where you might be feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and you can use these tools in those kind of moments as well. Yeah, it's the feedback that we get from the workshop is phenomenal, and yeah, a lot of people are telling us that it's changed their lives.
Man, there's another plug. Another plug. Fins, you need to get onto this, mate.
Yeah, we've had a couple of firemen on the course, and I think he had a group from Hamilton that wanted to do some work as well, but I'm not sure if that followed through. But yeah, it's an awesome. I love it. You know, the first part of the workshop, we're out in Te Taiao. We're down in nature, and we're talking about these ideas around getting out into nature, because if you're not getting out into nature at least 2 or 3 times a week, you know, you're missing out. And a lot of it's about taking the shoes off and grounding with the whenua, and the research behind that. You know, there's some real powerful research that backs all of this stuff up. So yeah, it's really cool to be involved with that work.
And so do you think something like this, we had something like this available when you were in the job, would have helped?
It would have helped, yeah, a lot, without a doubt. We could, you know, I think that I didn't have those tools available to me to know how to control when I was feeling overwhelmed, when I was in the red and living in the red, and I didn't know what was going on. But now I have a deeper understanding, and a lot of the work that we do is based around awareness. So, you know, I'm feeling fatigued. I'm not coping with this thing that's come up where normally I'd be fine, but for some reason today it's kind of triggered me. You know, the capacity to take it on, and then you kind of dive a little bit deeper and go, oh well, I've done a couple of night shifts. I didn't get much sleep on these times, and you can figure out what can help you. And so for me, keeping a consistent morning routine helps me to keep healthy, and it ticks a lot of those fundamentals off. You know, stretch out, strength and conditioning in the morning, a meditation, a bit of journaling, you know, a big glass of water, hydrating, and staying off the phone. You know, that's a good way to start my day. But if you're practicing some bad habits, you know, like I said, that just can compound to some unhealthy behaviors and some unhealthy coping mechanisms.
And so living out in Piha, what's that like, man? It's a beautiful place.
You know, when I think about gratitude, I'm truly grateful that for where I live, and I'm extremely lucky. When I was growing up, my big dream was to live by the beach so I could surf every day, and that's come true. I feel like I've made some really good decisions in my life. One of them was to surf, and the other one was to live in Piha, because I just love it out there. And we've got the Waitakere Ranges, we've got waterfalls, we've got we can go down to the Manukau Harbour, that little stretch of beach down there. I probably should keep that quiet, but that is just amazing, out of this world kind of stuff, especially up in the Pararaha Valley. And you know, you've got all these secluded beaches that you can be at within minutes. So that whole coastline there, when you talk about transformation and reconnecting with nature, yeah, there's no better place. And for me, surfing's my biggest passion in life, one of them, and I get to surf a lot with my friends, and I've got that connection there. So I do love that. I do love living there. I also go up to Indonesia during winter every year, so I also like getting out and about when it gets a bit cooler and a little bit stormy. But living in Piha has been absolute blessing.
And you've touched on it a few times, but how important is the ocean, the ngahere, that environment for you and your well-being?
It's massive. It's a huge part of everything that we do. I think it's the most important part of our programs, of our workshop, is that nature-based part. Because, like I said, when you are out in nature, you're more open to learning because you're down in that blue zone and you can think clearly and creatively. And I just really encourage, because without nature, we're nothing. We're the guardians, we're the ones that need to look after it. And when you think about Te Ao Māori, we have our maunga, we have our awa, and we mention those two things because without those, the iwi comes after that, the people, and that's what keeps the people alive. Is our water, is our whenua, and it's, I can't actually express how important it is. And if you're not getting out into nature, then you really are missing out. And we work with people who live in New York.
Wow.
And there was one guy there who never got out into nature. So, and they live in apartments. And so there's a real disconnect there. So, definitely the work that I do and the work that Dave does, a big part of it is connecting with nature and with each other. That sense of community and belonging.
And your son, is he a professional surfer? Used to be professional surfer now?
Yeah, my boy is. He's travelled the world competing. He's kind of segued out of that now, and he lives in Bali with his girlfriend, and they shoot a lot of content. He loves videography, and so he's filming a lot of surfing. He does the odd competition here and there, usually at tropical locations, and he spends his time traveling with his beautiful wahine, and he's living the dream, really.
And because he was a champ at once, eh?
He's been the Open men's champ in Aotearoa, and he just won the Māori titles, just him and his girlfriend. And he just missed out on the trials in Raglan last week. Real close decision. So that was a bit tough for him, but he's on to some other real cool projects and opportunities that are going to come his way. So I couldn't be more proud of the person he is and the things he's done in his life.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how that must have made you proud, especially being a surfer yourself, like seeing him excel. And what was it like watching his journey, like, did you ever aspire to be like that surf champ, competing and stuff? And what was it like watching him go through that?
Look, I got into surfing a little bit later. I was about 15, and my passion was rugby and rugby league. And then surfing kind of took over when I got a bit older. And then I think in my late teens, it's about 18, 19, I went in a few comps, didn't really do that well, and it just became like a lifestyle thing for me. Obviously, when you get into your early 20s, you're off working, and then, surfing, I wasn't surfing as much, and I never really surfed as much as I did until I joined the fire service.
It's crazy, yeah. Like, when I first joined, I didn't even know there was surf champs. And now they're getting sponsorships for the surf champs and stuff like that. It's actually quite big in the fire service now, eh?
Yeah, when I started, we had, I think the inaugural one was down in Fitzroy. So it started there, and it's gone on to strength, and it was really cool catching up with the boys a couple of weeks ago, and seeing that they're still involved and keeping it going. And to be fair, there's a lot of good surfers. These young fellas are really good, and you've got some guys at the Mount and in Wellington, and they were a lot better than when we first started, to be fair. Just to go back with my son, I definitely got my son into surfing for purely selfish reasons. I knew that if he surfed, I would surf, and I thought, oh yeah, that could be good, you know. When the time comes, I'll be like, oh, I'll take the kids. You have a rest, and we'll go to Raglan, and that's exactly what we did. But then he just took it to another level when he was about 10 or 11, and got sponsored when he was 12, and we started traveling around the world together, and he's done some incredible things when it comes to surfing. He loves the power and the big stuff, and he's taken me along for the ride. And yeah, I'm extremely proud of everything that he's achieved within his surfing, but I'm more proud of the person that he is. And he's he's a really, really nice young man. And I'm really proud of how he's turned out.
Does he take any of like your teachings that you do now, and does he roll with some of those?
Some of the stuff, yeah. One of the big reasons why I made a lot of my changes and decided to go in a new direction was to prove to him that you could change. You know, because he had seen me down at the RSA, he'd seen me drinking, and you know, seen me coming home from a night shift really tired. And so I wanted to show him that you don't have to, just because you're in one phase of your life doesn't mean you can't change and head in another direction. So everything that I do has been for him. And he has come back with his girlfriend and worked for us in Te Kairahi, and we've run a noho with Hoani Waititi and different programs, and he's come in, he's filmed, he's helped. He's taken them surfing, and it's just awesome having him come in and help with that stuff. And he was actually one of Dave's first clients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when he was younger. So he does take all that teaching, and he's right into goal setting, and yeah, he's a lot of the stuff that we share, he's taken on, and yeah.
And when he was in the junior team, is that when you were managing the New Zealand junior team, or?
No, when he got in the team, I kind of stepped down.
Oh,
yeah,
you wanted to
time
be
to be dad. Yeah, time to be dad.
Cool.
And if anyone knows my son, you know, he's pretty strong-minded.
Yeah.
And I just thought there's a real conflict there, and I couldn't go away with a team with my son in there because I would just be focused on my son. And so I just travelled with him as a dad, and travelled. We've been to a lot of different events. He's been on the WQS, which is the qualifying series, since he's been about 17. So he still does the odd one here and there. But I love traveling with him, and I set up the camera, and I film, and then I'll go surfing, and we'll go back, watch the footage. And yeah, he's a fierce competitor.
Yeah, awesome, bro. Yeah, I mean, like, so have you seen any of the values that you've sort of had over your life, or even the ones you've learned now, like be passed on to him in what he's doing now?
Yeah, I'm starting to. And I suppose there was some values and some behaviour that I'm not proud of that I passed on to him as well. And that's what happens with our kids, you know. They see a good, the bad, and the ugly, and he's seen the ugly. And I want to come from a place of, you know, I don't want to be the type of dad who says, hey, this is what you should be doing. You need to do this, 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 and this, and this is what will happen. Because that's really just passing my philosophies down onto him, and he's his own person. But the way I like to kind of mentor with my son is just to live these higher values and to show them and to be consistent and to show him that I can control my emotions, to show him that this is what it looks like if you change the direction of your life, and that anyone can do it at any age. So I like to try and just live the values I'd like to see in him, to just live them, and that's what I aim to do. And I heard this, I don't know if it's a quote, but this teaching around, you know, you don't want to be the tugboat when it comes to mentoring. You don't want to go out into the harbour. Well, you can, but you don't want to go out into the harbour and tie the boat off and you pull
Pulling
it
them,
and boom, and you get it back into the harbour and you're over here. I don't think that's the way to go. It's much better to just be a lighthouse and just be on the hill, shine the bright light, and if they come, they come, you know, rather than trying to pull people over. And a lot of the time when someone's ready to make the changes, and they're interested in what you're sharing, they'll head over. But
I like that.
Yeah, we're not trying to get anyone to come over that doesn't want to be there, because that's just hard work.
Well, and like I said earlier, and unless you're ready to accept change, and you want to make those decisions. What's that saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you touched on it briefly, but you've worked with troubled youth. Like, what have you learned in that space?
Yeah, I was hoping you'd bring that up, because it takes me back to a time when I was in the fire service. And I didn't realise the impact that this job had on me. But we went to a call, and, low social economic area. And we went to a house, and, yeah, it was appalling, just how they were living. And it was a really hard job, actually. And there were kids there. And I saw those kids, and something in me was like, how can I help, those kids that haven't got anything, where their environment where they were, man, that's a hard to get out of that. With what they were learning, with what they were seeing, with where they were living. Like, the living conditions were appalling. And that, I think, when I was driving here, I think that sparked something in me. And so when I decided that I wanted to help people, I thought the best place to start is with our rangatahi and our Māori rangatahi, and the ones that are struggling. So luckily enough, the Ministry of Education were interested in the work that I was doing. And they called me and said, hey, look, we've got these kids that are stealing cars at the time and driving them into shops and, the Ram Raiders.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so, and we don't know what to do with them. And they just said to me, what can you do? And I was just like, yeah, I can get them to me. Let's get them out here. So I had a group of boys, 4 I worked with over about a year, off and on. And the first time they came out, red zone, what's going on here? But because they were out of their environment, and they were, it was all new to them, being out at Piha, and they were moved into that blue zone, they were a little bit open. And the first thing I did with them was told them that the work that I did with Dave, some of it was around cold water therapy. And he taught that some of those theories to the city kickboxing guys. And so, as soon as you mention that, their eyes are popping up, and this is some stuff that Israel and Kai does and all those guys. And so they were a little bit open to what I was sharing. And we took them down to the blue pools where it was freezing, got them in the water, got them out into nature, and we just hung out down there. It was hard to get them in the water, but once they were in, I couldn't get them out. And from that point on, they kind of liked what we were offering. We'd take them surfing, we'd take them to waterfalls, we'd teach them about breath work, we did jiu-jitsu, and yeah, some of the best work that I've ever done.
Awesome.
And it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. And we had one boy who went off and got a job, so that was huge for us, and things really started to take off from that point. It is hard, because at our worst, we're just we're delivering a nice day at the beach with positive people, with some skills and some techniques that they can take away with them. And some of them might not come back to that until years later. And there is an element where it gets hard when you take them back into town and, there's no follow-up. So now what we're aiming to do is frame it up, have some stuff before they come out to us, do a camp, and then have some follow-ups. I forgot to mention this, but we are basing all of everything that we do around rites of passage. So the rites of passage model, there's a blueprint of rites of passage, and rites of passage is thousands of years old. There was a time where when our young boys got to a certain age, they were taken away with the men, and they were disconnected from the daily life of being in the community, taken away from their mothers, and taken out and shown what it was to be a man. And a lot of that comes down to sharing around the fire, lived experience, not so much this is what you should do, but sharing stories of Tāne Mahuta and how he aspired to do great things and different faces. And that's how you get your messages across, or you share stories of lived experience. This is the challenges I faced when I was young. These are the things that happened for me. And then what we do is we build a container, which is the camp or the day together, and then we challenge them. And, you know, the challenge could look like taking them out into the bush, setting up some obstacles for them to overcome, working together, and just really kind of putting that challenge out there. And then at the end, we do a lot of honouring and figure out how they can take all the skills, the knowledge that they've learned about over the camp or the day and integrate it into their own lives. So that's just touching on the blueprint. The other thing about rites of passage is we're all on the staircase, and we've got to be taking that next step up every year. And if we don't, we just get stuck on the same step. And there's a real problem there. There's agitation. And what we find is that the biggest group that are feeling the most agitation is our teenagers, because they don't want to be there. They want to be up higher on that staircase. And then finally, another big part of rites of passage is boy behavior as opposed to man behavior. And so boy behavior is, I'm the center of the universe. I need all the power and attention over here. If I don't get it, I'm going to have a tantrum. And there's a real sense of invincibility. I'm going to live forever. And most little boys need their mum to do everything for them. It's okay for little boys. That's perfectly fine behavior. Man behavior is, I'm not the center of the universe, I'm part of it. If I have any power or attention over here, I'll use it for the greater good of the community. I have complete control over my emotions. I know that there's a time limit on this life. I know that I have to make the most of what I have now, because time is of the essence, and that we don't need a mother. We can do everything for ourselves. Now, there's a real problem in society when men are behaving like little boys. And at the moment, there's a lack of guidance. And so when there's no real healthy rites of passage, boys, rangatahi, will find their own drinking, fighting, stealing cars, whatever it might be. You know, there's a real unhealthy pattern. But when they are guided, and by the way, kairahi means to guide, in the right way, where there's healthy behaviours, healthy patterns, and a pathway forward to show them how to be men, rather than just rock up to becoming 22, 23 and going, holy hell, what's going on here? It's better for our society. It's better for our mothers. It's better for our daughters. It's better for everyone. And the real problem is that, you know, back in the day, if you were a man behaving like a little boy, you were a danger to the community, to the tribe. That's a very dangerous thing to be doing, acting like a little boy. So, Anna Rubinstein from the Rites of Passage, who's a mentor of mine, he says, you know, like, imagine if the leaders of our world behave like little boys.
Wow. I think there's one doing that right now.
Where would we be? And so, so just learning that stuff and encouraging those kind of teachings has been a real good baseline for us.
I lost my train of thought now, but oh yes. So we've been watching a program about Grace Foundation at the moment. And, you know, you were talking about the Ram Raid boys and things like that. The one thing we struggle to understand, or I think what's missing is, you know, we can teach all these these kids or these criminals or whatever, all these tools, we can give them all these tools. We can even set them up in these areas and stuff like that. But as soon as they're put back into their world, you know, are they re-offending or are they forgetting what they learned? You know, like with you guys, you know, are you helping these troubled youth in your realm, but then when they go back into their own realm, are you finding they've gone back into their ways, or and how do we change that part of society, you know?
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's something that I've been struggling with is the follow-up, is where are they going? And like I said, when we get them to Piha and we encourage all the stuff, we have a great day and we have some breakthroughs, and then we're in the van going back into to their natural environment, or the environment that they're used to, where there's some real unhealthy behaviors and they're around not the best kind of role models. It gets hard. And so I've been, that's something that I need to work towards. I have a vision where I have my own facility, where it's Te Ao Māori based, where we have carvings out the front, and where we have ice baths, where we have saunas, where we have a gym, where we have a place where you can do yoga, and people can share their knowledge and do a lot of really cool things as far as holistic health is concerned. We can have a little podcast room, and we can have a lecture room. We can have like a cafeteria that sells organic food. And so we get people coming through the front door, and we're generating some cash. And in the back, we're teaching our rangatahi and showing them a way forward and a pathway. And I'd love to have programs set up so they can come to us. We take them through those programs, and then we send them off to people like Aotearoa Labour Hire with Izzy Whitney and who's doing amazing things within that space, but creating a space within his organisation. I haven't even talked to him about this, by the way, but where he can take on these kids and train them and send them off to do work and to get upskilled. But you're right, if the environment doesn't change, it's very hard for anything else to change. And even when I think about my own transformation, I had to get away. That was I had to get away from what I knew, the fire service and the people I was around. And even when I gave up drinking, I very rarely hang out with my old friends. So I still see them a lot, and we're still mates, but I'm doing other stuff with other people who are doing different things that I want to be around. But the environment is massively important. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if you look at that call that you went to, because going to calls where the living conditions are appalling, we go to that quite a lot, like a lot of fires end up happening in situations like that, right? But you imagine going to that call, and then you went there and you picked up those kids and you took them away and you put them into your programs and taught them everything, and they loved it and they took heaps on board, but then they go back to it, right? They go back to that, because you're not going to keep them forever, so they have to go back into that environment. And, like, I don't know, like you say, there needs to be like that follow-up,
Yeah, when I started, we started with a hiss and a roar, because there was no one doing what we were doing. And we, I like to say, like, the floodgates opened, and we really took off. Unfortunately, we got a new government, and they wanted to head in a different direction, with the boot camps and stuff like that. So I don't think that's the way forward either. But we need to try and figure out, because a lot of the feedback I get from the rangatahi is they want to work. They want to have they want to go and make money and do stuff, but a lot of them are isolated in their environment, and they can't get out of it. So it is something that we really need to figure out. I like to think that the tools and the skills and the knowledge that we're sharing with them, they will eventually come through for a lot of them moving forward. but there might be some that come back to it when they are at that rock bottom moment. That's what I hope, that when they hit the rock bottom, they go, hey, he said going out into nature is going to help me.
So how better can we support them? Even if you look back on your fire service career, like how could firefighters better support those troubled youths?
Well, hey, what I know is that they just want to be around positive people. They just want to, like, it's not that convoluted. They've got a ball, they pass it to you, you pass it back. That's what they want. That's when they're happy. You're going down to the sand, making a square in the sand and playing beach flags. You know, they love that stuff, playing games with them. They just need interaction with people, with positive people.
Positive interaction.
Yeah,
that way.
positive interaction. And yeah, I feel like you know, that's hard for anyone, you know, most people to make that commitment. But if it, you know, it's up to us to make the world a better place, and especially in our own community. So yeah, I mean, I need to. I have had offers from guys in the fire service that want to come and help me, but I got to try and figure out how I'm going to make that work. And at the moment, we are aiming to do camps and run our days and get to a point where we can start employing people. So we're sort of heading down that path right now.
I mean, surely there's some of us that, you know, would even just volunteer time to help you out, bro. You know,
Yeah.
surely.
Because what I think about is we want to challenge them. So a challenge day when we're doing these camps. And I think, man, that pack day that we did, that's a challenge. So we could set up, you know, a big challenge day down. I've already done it. I've run a camp and I've used Anawhata Beach where it's secluded, and we set up all these different workstations down there. And challenge, they went to one and then they went to another, and they had to do all these challenges. But I think about that quite a bit, you know, setting up a challenge in the bush. They've got to climb up a tree, or they've got to do stuff, or they've got to pull something up there and just get through this challenge. And then the challenge that the camp that I went on down in Whangaroa, which was Te Ao Māori based rites of passage with these young boys, we took them out into the Ngahere on dark, and they had to follow a guideline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they followed this guideline in the dark. I think they were blindfolded. Yeah, they were blindfolded. And we were all just spread out in the bush watching them and listening to them. It was funny, man.
Yeah.
And they made their way up to this puna, to this little pond. And in the puna were these taonga, these big rocks. And they were placed in the pond, and they had to find them. And so they're up there. It's about 11 o'clock at night. You know, they're all in their underwear, and or their shorts, and they're all looking around for this taonga, and they're all disorganized. And Te Aki told me that the group before, they made a line. And they walked through and they found it straight away. But this group was disorganized, and they were looking around. They were getting cold, arguing with each other. And then once they found that, we took them further into the bush, and they had to climb up this rata tree. And they had to touch these 3 baskets and then come down halfway and fall backwards into this net that we were all holding. And then once they all did that and retrieved those 3 baskets, we went back to our campsite, sat around the fire, and there was a wānanga there about becoming a man, what it looked like. And, you know, you just basically trying to get them tired. And then at one point, one of them got upset, and then we're like, okay, there's a tarp over there, a pillow, a blanket. You know, you guys are going to go and make a bivouac and sleep out in the bush for the night. Think about how you can become a better man or a good man. And so they go out there, and then, there's this whole ceremony in the morning about them moving from being a tama to now a tamatane, a young man. It's really cool stuff.
Cool. Very cool.
It's really cool stuff.
Man, I wish I did that stuff when I was younger, you know?
Yeah, Te Aki Coates down in Whangaroa, he met Anna Rubenstein about 10, 12 years ago, maybe longer. Learnt about the blueprint, brought it back, added in Te Ao Māori, and he's been doing it for 10 years. He's doing incredible work down there, and that's the pathway that I want to take. Is and I've been over to Anna's leadership camp, and I did a camp with 33 fathers and 33 young boys. It's incredible, man. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, and that's the kind of work that I want to get into with rites of passage. Yeah.
Okay, so if you could go back and talk to yourself early in your fire service career, what would you say?
What would I say? Yeah, I didn't know a lot. I wasn't too interested in self-development or learning. I had a fixed mindset. I wasn't open to trying to better myself. I was kind of quite closed. What I would say to myself is, what I'd like to say if I could go back is be more open to learning. Don't just stop, because I feel like I just stopped learning. I learned about the job. I learned what I needed to progress, but I didn't really do any self-development or learn about myself or learn about behaviors and how to elevate where I was. And I think that when, with a growth mindset, is that there's always an opportunity to get better, to learn more, to build the knowledge, and to be a better version of yourself than you are today. There's always that option, and there's never really a time where that's not an option. I could possibly say do your taps, and get qualified earlier, and maybe that could have sparked something in me. But yeah, just be a bit more open to learning about myself, and don't just settle for a bit of ho-hum. Yeah, because I feel like I just kind of got into that ho-hum phase where I'd turn up, and it's a real dangerous place to be, where you're not growing, where you're not learning, and that you're just everything's pretty comfortable. I'll just turn up, fill the seat in, do the best I can when we get a call, but other than that, I didn't really push myself.
So, listening, to you over this yarn, to me it sounds like you've found your purpose, right? And a lot of people are searching for their purpose. What does purpose mean to you now?
Yeah, I suppose that is a huge question, and it's something that I ask myself. I guess at the heart of it all, above and beyond everything that I am, everything that I do, I am a good father. And there was a time where I questioned that, and that means a lot to me. And that's the main, that's really my existence, is to be a good father, a good role model, and to live by some higher values. I suppose you could say professionally, I feel like my purpose is to uplift and inspire as many people as I can. And to be fair, that doesn't just have to be at work. For me, that can be down at the petrol station. That can be, at the dairy when I'm meeting people, and just trying to add an impression of increase to everyone I come in contact with. And at times that's hard, because at times, especially when you're working with lots and lots of people, you need time to yourself. But just to be a good person, who does his best to look after the people around him, who does the best he can with the mahi that he does, and to look after the environment. I think, and to enjoy life, to get the most out of life, and to grow. I suppose that's what I'd say my purpose is.
And for anybody that's listening that might be struggling, what would you want them to hear?
It's a real difficult place to be when you're feeling really, really low and dark, and things it can feel like, oh my God, it's one thing after the other, and it can be it's a real rut to be in, and the last thing you want to do is hear someone banging on about getting out into nature and doing all this stuff and how good life can be. The most important thing that I would say is just keep going. And we can all, I've learned that if you just keep going, that things can improve, and that what feels really, really dark today might feel completely different in a month or two. And if it is a pattern that's happening and a cycle, which mine was, and I can only talk from my own lived experience, if it's a pattern and a cycle and you're going around and you're up and you're down, then something in that pattern needs to change. And it can just be a small change. It doesn't have to be changing the world. You don't have to change everything, but it can be just one small change. And it might be, it could be anything. It could be listening to a podcast about people who've made changes, how to make changes. There's so much information out there. It could be reading a book, something as simple as that. It could be cleaning your environment, just something really basic, going for a walk out in nature. And once you start changing some of those small habits, those everyday habits, and you keep building on those, then you can start making bigger changes. You can start looking into self-development and personal growth, and you can start looking at your own life and figuring out what are the limiting beliefs that you have, what are the habits that are holding you back, what are the stories that you're telling yourself. And I don't think there's any one formula or system. We're all different, but I guess if you look at it, if you pull back, there's a pattern. There was for me, there's a pattern of behavior, and we've got to break that pattern.
Totally.
Whether it's the thought patterns, whether it's the behavior patterns, because if the pattern doesn't change, then nothing changes.
Oh man, my missus is gonna love hearing you say that. She talks to me about patterns all the time. It's like, this person has this pattern and this pattern, and if you don't change those patterns, exactly what you just said. So she's gonna love hearing that. But yeah. So one question I ask every guest: for you, and now leaving the job, was it the best job in the world?
Okay, I'll answer this in two ways.
Yeah, go for
when I was in the job and loving the job, and I was passionate about the job, it was the best job ever. I loved it. And I loved the flexibility it gave me with my time. I loved the fact that I worked in a team of really cool people. I had a great leader. I had a few. There was great role models to work under, and you were challenged. It wasn't, it wasn't easy for me, like going in there, and then you get in there, and then you learn about this, and then you've got to learn how to drive the truck and all that sort of stuff. But it was really cool, and it ticked all the boxes for me. I loved it. It is a great job, and I'd encourage anyone who's interested in joining up to pursue that. And above and beyond everything else that the job offered me, it offered me a sense of purpose and an opportunity to be of service to the community. There's nothing better that you can do with your time than to be of service. If you can be of service and you can help the community, that in my eyes, that's the best thing that you can possibly do, and it's really, really rewarding. And then if I'm answering that question at the end of my career, I would still say, yeah, it's the best job in the world. But for me, realizing that I had lost the passion to be a firefighter, and I had wanted to branch out and start pursuing my own endeavors, the reason why I believe that I've had some success with doing that is because of everything that I learned as a firefighter. It taught me so many different skills in all avenues of my life, and I'm truly grateful for that. And then I'll answer it in 3. And now on the other side of that, what I do now is the best job ever in the world. So when you're in something, be in it 100%. Be passionate about it. Turn up. Uplift, inspire everyone. It's the way to go. And if you're out there, go in tomorrow and try and elevate as many people as you can, and just watch what comes back.
Well, Jemarl, thanks heaps for coming in. I truly appreciate you sharing your story. If nobody's ever said this to you, thanks for your 20 years of service, or nearly 20 years of service. But moving on from that, the amazing work that you're doing with our rangatahi, the journey that you've been on in your own world, it's amazing. And it's been so cool to hear this and learn this, I'm definitely going to take a few leaves out of your book and get back to learning my whakapapa and where I'm from, and inspire my kids to do the same thing, it's all I can say is it's been a cool story, man. Like real cool yarn. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Cheers, brother.
Ngā mihi nui. Ka nui te aroha, brother. And what you're doing here is amazing. This is cool. Cheers. This is really good. This gives a space for our firefighters to maybe come in and speak and uplift other people and hear how they feel. And it's really hard to do that while you're on station. But I just hope that more people come in and share their stories, because there's some pretty cool stories out there, and I'm definitely keen to hear more. And I think you're doing a great thing, so thank you. Ngā mihi, bro.
Cheers, brother. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow along on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. And as always, see you on the next yarn. Cheers, bro.
Kia ora.
This is the station yarn. Real talk round the table, scars and all, from the first due rush to the long ride home when the sirens fall. Real firefighters, real conversation. Yeah, we're stitching up the brave and the scarred. Pull up a chair, lean in and listen. Every yarn's got a truth at its start.